So if you would just talk into there and say who you are first.
I'm Dorothy Hendrickson, and I've been a lifelong member of Nordland. That means for 90 years. And I've been involved with most aspects of the church, except for the 4 years I was gone in Minneapolis. But I guess what I want to talk about is music. I think other people have spoken about other things. The first thing I remember about music at Nordland was the men's choir. They had a very good men's choir. And I was just a little kid, but I was impressed by them. And then later on, they had, after Reverend Knudsen came, there was some kind of a choir, because I remember his wife singing in the choir. But it's just kind of vague to me. But after Reverend Knudsen left, Reverend Dalla came. And then he started a choir. And it was kind of a young people's choir. In fact, very young. I was about 12 or 13 when I first sang in it. And we weren't even confirmed yet when we started. And then we had some older people, like Herbert Jacobson and Henry Sunday. They weren't old. They were probably in their middle 20s. But Reverend Dalla directed that. And the only music we had was we sang from the old Concordia hymnal. And then in the early 40s, we had some interns that came for the summer from Augsburg College from Minneapolis, and they led the choir when they were here. And it was fun because we had choir in the summer, which we didn't usually have. And they introduced us to something more choral music that was on music sheets, not just in the hymnal anymore. And well, then the war came, so I went away to school, and I don't really know. I'm sure they had the choir practicing while I was gone. Those that were left, we weren't all gone, but some of the men left, of course. The men went to the service, to the Army and the Navy, and some of us went away to school. So when we came back then, Reverend Larson was in charge. And then I believe, if my memory is correct, Donald Jacobson started directing. And Donald directed for a long, long time. And then one of our other directors, even Janet Thompson, Mrs. Bud Thompson, directed for a short period of time. And then, let's see, who came next? Well, meanwhile, Clarice Anderson, Mrs. Ivan, was just innovative. I think about all the things that she did for our church. She started a junior choir, and they had gowns. They had white gowns with big red bows at the neck. And the boys wore, just their ordinary shirts, but they had red bow ties too. And my mother, Mrs. Dewey Peterson, Bernice Peterson, was the accompanist on that one. And Clarice also started Our Lady's Quartet. There was 4 of us that started on that. I think it was Clarice and myself and Mana, Mrs. Lester Martinson, and Louise Martinson. But then over the years, we kind of evolved. Finally, we became, we started as a quartet, and then we started as a triple trio, I think. We kept adding people. And we had some pretty elementary music. I'm not good at reading notes very well, but Clarice was real patient with us, and we sang in church, and we sang, I think, a few other places, maybe at Bible camp, but the choir was the main thing. And we also had, let's see, besides Donald, we had, Viv Wright later, Viv Wright and Bob Martinson, and Alan Anderson, and lately now we've had Luke and Laura. And there may have been others in between. I'm trying to think. But choir was always a highlight for me. We practiced every Wednesday night, and it was so fun. And Audrey Stool, and my good friend, and we were kind of silly. I think about us married women, we sat and laughed and laughed and laughed. And we just had good senses of humor, and we did laugh a lot.
During choir practice?
Yeah, well, in between. And every Christmas we went caroling. And to begin with, we caroled in the Painesville area and in the New London area. And I think Herbert Jacobson would lead us, and we'd just drive across country and go into people's house and sing for them. And I don't know if we were I think they enjoyed us coming, but we came in with our wet feet and walked into their rooms, and we had I think we made kind of a mess sometimes, but they seemed to enjoy it. Mm-hmm. And then we'd get in the car, and if we were in the Painesville area, we'd go over to the New London area. Later on, I don't think we did that as much. They just went to fewer places. Maybe there weren't as many old people later on. Maybe.
Did you go to nursing homes?
Well, to begin with, there weren't nursing homes. Coronas Manor just was built, I think, in about 1965. Mm-hmm. And before that, there weren't nursing homes.
Right.
So we just went to individual homes. Mm-hmm. But after this Cronus Manor was built, we did go there every Christmas. And it's only been a few years ago now that they, I don't know exactly, there weren't enough people to go or what, but there have not been caroling recently. Mm-hmm. And I guess we've always had a lot of music in Nordland. We had a men's quartet besides our ladies' organization, a lot of soloists, and I think Nordland has been blessed with music.
Yes.
And right now, at this present time, we do not have a choir director, and that is something I pray about, that we would get someone to revive our choir, because I really miss not having the choir at services.
Yes.
And I guess that's all I have to say about choir. Let's see, what else should I talk about? Well, I could talk about Vacation Bible School. Mm-hmm. When I was a first grader, we had Vacation Bible School for a month.
Wow.
We had it for a month, and then later on it got to be 2 weeks, I think. And my sister and I went to the District 20 in Meeker County to begin with, but then there weren't many Lutherans that came there, so we transferred and went over to District 24, and there was more people there. And I think District 24 and District 19 kind of shared a teacher. We would have school in the forenoon, and then she would go in the afternoon, she would go to 19. And then the next day she would teach in 19 and then come back to 24 in the afternoon. And we had a lot of memory work. I remember memorizing a Bible verse for each letter of the alphabet.
Oh.
A, B, C, D. Oh. Ask and it shall be given you, seek and you shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you. B was, be thou faithful unto death, and I will give thee a crown of life. But I don't remember anymore. A C was cast all your anxiety upon me. But it was a good form of, and we had some missionaries that taught us, so I know that they read us a lot of missionary stories. I always remember about Adoniram Judson and the haystack prayer meeting. They were kind of heavy for kids. And the teacher usually stayed in a home in the congregation. And after I was married, we had several students that I boarded and fed and housed and washed their clothes, and some of them, the men, I guess I remember washing some shirts and stuff. Okay. But now, I guess then they went up to church and had vacation Bible school. And I think for a while they hired some students from the cities. Those were the ones that I housed at my house. And then later on, just the parents or the teacher, I remember being superintendent of the vacation Bible school at church. But then we had them for a whole day. And the kids had an hour off at noon, and they all played ball. They had to play ball, and we had a lot of Bible quizzes. That's what I would do after noon hour was over. We'd have a Bible quiz. And now, I don't know, now they have about a couple hours, a couple nights a week. So it has really changed.
It's changed a lot.
Really changed. And in Sunday school, as a very young child, I did not attend regularly. I know I did not. I think that the roads were bad, cars were old, and didn't always get there. But then my mother started playing for the Sunday school, and I think I was more regular in attendance then. And then I know we only had the Bible history book and the Catechism. I don't remember, well, when we were really little, we got the little picture cards with Moses and all that. But later on, I don't remember anything like the stuff they have now, so much artwork and everything, you know. And so no wonder we memorized the Catechism. I mean, we had it from the time we were by, I think my book, my Catechism has 1934.
Oh.
So I was about 8 or 9 years old when I started, and we studied that all the way through, you know, confirmation classes.
Yeah.
And our confirmation classes were held in the nice weather. We met up in the church sacristy. Sacristy was a little bit bigger than it is now. They have built cabinets in there, so there isn't much room.
No.
But we used to meet in there, and we were 17. We had 4 boys and 13 girls in our confirmation class. When the weather got colder, there was no heat. The church was not heated except for the weekend, for the services. So during the week, during the cold weather, we met in people's homes on Saturdays. We always met on Saturdays, and it was kind of fun. We got to know what the different women were going to serve. And we said, "Oh, I know, she has angel food cake." But that was kind of fun to go to different people's homes. And then, of course, confirmation was quite serious. The first time that we took communion was at Confirmation Sunday, where we all knelt around the altar. And that was kind of serious business. But then, kind of after confirmation, we didn't have anything. We did not have any youth league or anything like that. So when we were through with confirmation, we were through with that. Now they have activities for kids until they graduate from high school, I believe.
Did you feel like you couldn't take communion, or what was the serious part about it?
Well, the serious part of it was just that we were kind of dedicating our lives, you know, to God, and the sad part about our church was I don't know when it came about, but there was something about communion. You had to examine yourself to see if you were worthy to take it. Well, of course, nobody is worthy. So that there was very few people that took communion when I was little. There was the deacons, and there'd be maybe 3 or 4 members of the congregation that felt that were able to take communion. But if some of the rest of us took communion, they'd say, "Oh, look at her, she took communion." And that was so sad that we had that interpretation of the Bible. So when I went down to the cities, then all my friends took communion, and I was shocked. because it had just been drilled into us that you had to be worthy. And nobody is worthy. Nobody is
Then
worthy.
Nobody would take
And so
communion.
that was, and I don't know where it started, but it was there. It was in place by the time I was born. That you had to examine yourself. And
I wonder when that changed. That
well,
thinking.
it changed when Reverend Olson came. When Reverend Olson came, then I think people started. More people started taking communion, and then little by little it evolved. Now everyone does. So that was one of the things that I regret from our church, my childhood and my church, that was a misinterpretation, and that we took communion at confirmation, and then I did not take communion again until I was probably married. So there was a whole time there when you're a youth, when you really
Right.
need it the most.
Did he clarify that in his sermons, or how did that come across?
It was just there, just something you do. No, I don't remember anybody speaking about it, but it was just a given. But about the physical building of Nordland, I just vaguely can remember the old horse barns. They had horse barns west of church where I guess, it's before my time, but I guess that they drove wagons or buggies or sleighs or whatever, and then during church services they housed the horses in those barns. But of course by the time I was going to church regularly, everyone drove cars. But those barns were there for quite a while, and I can just see them in my mind. And I don't even remember when they were torn down. But we also had wrought iron fence across the whole front of the church, where the new elm and maple trees are now. There was a fence and a gate getting into the church. There was a black wrought iron gate.
Okay.
And that was there, well, probably after we were married even, probably in the late 40s, maybe. I don't know. I suppose Marlowe's Chestnuts has probably written down when all this was done.
Right.
Yeah, when the fence was taken out.
Yes.
But of course it's not there now. But and then of course all the different projects that we've had in Nordland, like building on the new entry. That was lately. Well, lately, when you say probably in the 50s, and of course our new fellowship hall.
Yes.
That's and I guess well, I remember the decorating too in the church. They had really. Did you ever see that when it was all fancy decorated up
No.
in the front?
No.
Oh, they had all kinds, and then along the walls they had decorated. That must have. It was in my. I suppose in the 40s maybe.
What was that like?
Well, it was quite ornate. There must be a picture somewhere of it, that the place now where they hung the new banner with the that Kathy and Doris did. There was a big. Oh, I can't describe it to you, but and along the wall too there was decorating.
Somebody painted?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was painted. They hired people to do it.
Oh. My.
It was nice, and I wish I could remember exactly the year, but I think it was in the 40s that they did it.
And then that was all painted over.
Yeah.
And just a different group of people.
Well, there was, as in church meeting, there's always some people that want to do one thing and another group wants to do another thing. And when they took off the, what do you call the wood that's around the windows?
The molding?
Yeah, the molding. When they took that off, that was, some people were really upset about that. They wanted, and now it's just flush. They have it. They don't have the wood.
No.
But when we had the Christmas program, our Christmas program, we started practicing in November. And that's, we went through our piece, we had to learn our pieces, and we always had to learn one Norwegian song, which most of us had no clue what we were singing. We just sang the words. I remember a little bit of it yet, but it's just rote. And then we had no running water or bathrooms, so we had a water pail in the back, in the very back, with a water pail and a dipper. And kids were running back and forth, so you can imagine how any kind of flu spread, because we had the water pail and the dipper, and we practiced. And one thing I remember about Sunday school practice, the teachers were adamant that we had to be standing in by height. And they'd arrange us, and we'd be all arranged one Sunday, and the next Sunday somebody would be missing, so then they had to arrange us all over again. I don't know why they were so concerned about height, but they were just adamant about that. And
Who were some of your teachers?
well, I had Clara Bursame, no, Emma Christensen, one I had, Frances Lawrenson. Frances Lawrenson was also the organist. And she sat over on the west side. They had a pump organ. So her husband sat behind it, and he pumped it the whole time that she played. And she played for years and years and years until we got the new electric organ. And that was after the war. When I say the war, I'm talking about World War II. If there have been so many wars, you might think of another war.
Right.
But Frances and Alfred, and they also sang. They were quite musical. I think Alfred and Frances had the men's chorus too. Not sure. But
I'm just gonna.
it was kind of different to see that man sitting behind there and pumping that organ.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Can you turn it off for a while?
Mm-hmm.